Hey guys, this is an overview of therapeutic orientations. We will not be able to go over this in class. You will want to watch this video before taking the quiz. So why is it so important to know about psychotherapy? Because most of us will encounter psychological services at some point in our lives. Nearly half of Americans will experience mental illness, and a large number of them will and should go seek help. For a quick history, psychoanalysis was the first organized therapy for mental disorders. That is a lot what you think about when you think about a patient laying down on a couch. The psychoanalytic approach stresses that mental health problems come from unconscious conflicts and desires, which must be uncovered in order to resolve mental illness. Psychoanalysis also highlights the importance of early childhood experiences in determining mental health later in life. Psychoanalysis is an intensive, long-term approach in which patients and therapists meet multiple times per week, often for many years. Sigmund Freud, who is pictured, is considered to be the founder of psychoanalysis. Initially, he suggested that mental health problems arose from efforts to push inappropriate sexual urges out of conscious awareness. Later, Freud suggested more generally that psychiatric problems were the result of tension between different parts of the mind. Although psychoanalysis is still practiced today, it has largely been replaced by the more broadly defined psychodynamic therapy. Psychodynamic therapy has the same basic tenets as psychoanalysis, but it is briefer, makes more effort to put the client in his or her social and interpersonal context, and focuses more on relieving psychological distress than on changing the person. Freud's structural model had three elements: the id, which represents pleasure-driven unconscious urges; the ego, which is partly conscious and mediates between the id and the superego; and the superego, which represents the semi-conscious part of the mind where morals and societal judgment are internalized. So the id does whatever it wants. The superego puts the brakes on, and it's like your serious morality police. The ego is the mediator between the two. Freud believed that bringing unconscious struggles into conscious awareness would relieve the stress of internal conflict. That was the goal of psychoanalytic therapy. Psychoanalyst and psychodynamic therapist employ several techniques to explore patients' unconscious mind. Psychotherapeutic techniques include free association. It is a technique where patients share anything that comes to mind. They do not organize or censor their thoughts in any way. They just blurt it all out. The analyst uses their expertise to discern patterns or underlying meaning in the patient's thoughts. Exploring childhood relationships is used by psychotherapists to try to determine the reasons a patient relates to others the way they do, and to apprehend the origin of psychiatric difficulties. Psychoanalysts often put great stock in patients' dreams. In Freudian theory, dreams contain not only manifest or actual content, but also latent content or symbolic underlying meaning that can be discovered through dream analysis. Freudian theory suggests that patients may displace feelings for people in their lives onto the therapists. This is a process known as transference. Therapists may also displace emotions onto patients, called countertransference. The development of transference and countertransference is likely due to the receptive role therapists play by interpreting the patient's thoughts and behavior. The therapist views his or her relationship with the patient as another reflection of the patient's mind. While some patients and therapists find prolonged and detailed analysis rewarding, psychoanalysis is not appropriate for everyone. Limitations: people with severe psychopathology or mental retardation do not typically benefit from psychotherapy. Psychoanalysis is often very expensive. It lasts many years. It is not often covered by insurance. Finally, there is a lack of empirical support for much of psychoanalytical techniques' effectiveness. The limited research that has been done suggests that psychoanalysis does not reliably lead to better mental health outcomes. This is a transference activity. We will not do it. Transference example: you see the other in the same way as you believed your parent to have been. So in this kind of transference, the behavior of the significant other or friend simply reminds you of your parent's behavior. You are putting what your parents did or did not do on someone else. You see the other as being like what you wish your parent could have been. This is also transference. It is the behavior the significant other or friend provides perceived support that was felt to be lacking from a parent. You see the other as you were as a child and you act like your parent did. In this kind of transference, the behavior of the friend or significant other reminds you of yourself as a child, good or bad. You respond according to your parents' attitudes, so in the same way as your parents did with you. You see the other as you were as a child and you act like you wished your parent would have acted. In this kind of transference, the behavior of the significant other or friend reminds you of yourself as a child, and you respond in ways you feel are beneficial to the situation that your parents did not. Humanistic and person-centered therapy. The source of pathology. Proponents of humanistic and person-centered therapy, PCT, believe that mental health problems result from an inconsistency between patients' behavior and their true personal identity, what is inside of them. The goals of PCT are to create conditions where the patients can discover their self-worth, feel comfortable exploring their own identity, and alter their behavior to better reflect their actual identity. Carl Rogers, who is pictured, is considered the founding father of PCT. He developed it in the mid-20th century amidst the growth of humanistic theory and human potential movements. Rogers believed that all people had the potential to change and that the role of therapists was to foster self-understanding and provide an environment in which adaptive change was most likely to occur. Rogers' original name for PCT was non-directive therapy, which is reflected in the flexibility of PCT. Therapists do not try to change patients' thoughts or behaviors directly. Their role is to provide the therapeutic relationship as a comfortable platform for growth. A second technique is unconditional positive regard. So an important aspect of the therapist-patient relationship is the therapist's expression of warmth and empathy towards the patient, creating an environment free of approval or disapproval. Patients feel free to behave in ways that are congruent or that match with their own identity. Right here under techniques, there's a video, if you click on that, of Carl Rogers administering his PCT technique. Like psychoanalysis, there are distinct advantages and disadvantages of PCT. Key advantage of PCT is that it is highly acceptable to patients. It has themes that carry over well into other therapies as well. The main disadvantage is that findings about its effectiveness are mixed, possibly because the treatment is primarily based on unspecific treatment factors. All right. So unspecific treatment factors, basically in like developing a relationship, you're not necessarily targeting actual mental health problems. That is probably one of the biggest cons to PCT.